Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast.
I want you to finish that story after the show.
Okay, I can do that.
Sorry, I had to cut Paul off when he was starting a vent because we just had to go live. So welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast, everybody. We are your hosts of the Scene Snobsies. Dan, I didn't even care. I was like, wherever.
You're the man. You should be. You gotta be in the top left corner.
Not the man. Not the man. I'm the snob. That's what it is. You got it. So we usually do this every Tuesday night, but we're going live Friday. Tuesday was a tough day, I think, for a few of us. And a few of us, many of us. And we're going to be there next Tuesday. We'll be going. Sir Sturdy's going to be joining us. Hopefully, Paul will still be available. If you have your phone in Guatemala, join in.
You're going to be
Tell us where
Guadalajara.
you are. We got to find you.
We see. I doubled down because I'm married, and then also my name is Paul Dunn. I don't sound like Hector Rodrigo, so
True.
you're not looking for me.
When they're scanning the sites, it's just like, listen, my name's Paul, and it's between y'all.
Yep.
The greatest quote to use, and only you can use it. I was always mad at that. Every time I'd hear that in the movie, I'd be like, I want to use that so bad, but it's not Paul, and I hate this. So,
Do you know the movie Money Talks?
with Charlie Sheen and Chris Tucker?
Yeah. When I was in college,
It's a funny movie.
when I would get let's call it in an altered state of mind. When I'd get in an altered state of mind, I used to call people just like Chris Tucker does. He calls it a bomb threat in the movie. And he says, "My name's Mike from Michigan. You done fucked at me for the last time." I used to call people and say that, just random numbers, like people would hand me their phone and I would do it. Like,
I mean, listen, we've all made our prank calls. I think we can all say that. Actually, Paul. Okay, good. I was gonna say, and this is not an ageism thing. Are you too young to have made prank calls? Because I don't know when the line was.
I totally did because I had a home line until 2005.
Yeah, I guess
So-
yeah.
the
that
real
makes
test,
sense.
though, Paul, did you ever do the three-way call where you wouldn't tell the other person that the
Yes.
third person was?
No, I've never done that.
You didn't, Mick?
I have picked up the phone while like my brothers and my sister have been on
Yep.
the phone and like silently, and you got to try and make sure that they don't hear the click. Or as soon as it rings, you just like gotta.
I did it to people and was a victim multiple times where you would get two people talking, right? And then the third person was like the person that wasn't supposed to hear the information. And it's basically what happens on Mean Girls. I mean, that's if you've seen Mean Girls, you've seen.
People wouldn't do that to me because I was a loser. No, and listen, I know what I was. Like I'm do a podcast about movies. Like I mean, I know what I was in high school. So, well, you may have been cooler in high school.
We're right here. Mick.
Right, you're cool as shit, man. Fuck you.
Yeah, but I'm cool among my peers, my fellow Americans
Snobs.
who love geek. My geek
Cool in
heritage.
general. So
And my fellow porn lover.
oh.
OnlyFans.
That's why I felt so comfortable with you when I first met you. It's because I've been watching you for so.
Dude, I watched OnlyFans. I have OnlyFans. I'm on
It's
OnlyFans.
only Mick.
And I'm not going to say I haven't partaken in some videos. Like, listen, business is business. But here's
Gotta
the
make
thing.
money somehow.
I'm a plain dude. Like, you know how people have like sexual fetishes and shit, and like, and I get it. And I'm not saying anything to anybody as long as it's not kids, like, and it's consensual. I don't
Consensual,
give a
yeah.
shit.
I have a problem with some of the
Consensual and not kids. That's it. That's my line. You do it. You guys do you. So I don't think anybody should be shamed for it. And I'm not saying you have to tell anybody, but like, I don't feel anybody should feel that guilt or that shame. But here's the problem. I don't have that. I'm a vanilla dude. I just enjoy what I enjoy, and that's it. So actually, my turn on is like, I have to make sure she gets off more than I do. I can't, not psychologically, I can't do it unless, and it is scarring from
So what if
abuse in the past,
turn
but
on, and this has happened in my life. What if her turn on is getting you off?
None at the same time.
You do what you gotta do. You gotta do what you gotta.
What do you do then? That happened. I was
it-
like in a
yeah.
conundrum because I agree, man. It's like, yeah, you gotta warm up the oven before you bake.
So for me, like when I'm on OnlyFans or something, and like they try to talk to you, and they're dirty talking, but I'm like, I'm like, how you doing? Yeah, like
I've been
What
guilty
hand are
of
you
this.
typing with? Like, what?
I'm not even like I'm not
What?
at this point. I'm just on the phone, just texting, but I'm not like flirting. They are very hard, and then they'll get weird about it, and they'll just be like, "Why you keep asking?" I'm just like, "I don't know." Just like, "Where are you from?
What's your
Like,
major?"
how's it going? Yeah, like I don't do this.
How's the weather in North Carolina, Brian? Like,
Well, that's it. Like I'm guilty of this in strip clubs. Like, you know how they sit at your
Yeah.
table, right? They sit at your table, they have a conversation. I just start legitimate conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I don't want to be grinded on. I would give somebody 20. I would give a stripper $20. Just be like, let's talk.
well, that's it. They won't
What's
leave
your
me
day?
alone, right? And I'm like, listen, if I just give you a 10, will you just sit here and hang out with us? They're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I slip a 10 across the table. I'm like, there's the money for your time. And then like I'll ask stuff like, so you know, what's your story? Where are you from? Everything I just talk to them. And like I have a friend who gets so annoyed with me because the only time I haven't done this was my bachelor party. I tipped one of the strippers to bite my friend's earlobe because he's a germaphobe. It's the only time I haven't done this, but usually I sit down. I'm like,
Fuck
right?
yeah.
Oh my god! Like
I don't-
and he
I
got
don't
he
wanna-
got so mad. He got so mad, and he's like legit germaphobe guy, and he got so mad about it. But usually I'll sit there, and I end up having like so there's a place here in Lansing that's kind of like,
Is it on Rub Maps?
what is Rub Maps?
Never heard of Rub Maps? That's like
No,
the
I've
oldest
never heard of
site
Rub
from
Maps.
back in the day. I think it was GeoCities back in the day, where like
Oh
people
my
will
God.
tell you where to go.
No, it's like right in downtown. It's right in downtown Lansing, next to. Well, it used to be next to a place called the Nightcap. And it was just a tiny bar that was right next to it. That I actually like to go to the bar because they had cheap beer. It was like $4 pint. But this strip club is like second. It's like second tier, and you know second tier when you see second tier, right? Like, you
I
know,
worked in second tier most of my times.
and these ladies, two of them that I did this at the table, or I just gave them a 10. I was just like, I just don't bug me about a lap dance, basically. And like they asked me for like life advice and stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. Well, here's the thing: when your thing is pleasuring women, that's like your thing, like making sure they get off. You'll do a lot of shit, and so in my sexual experiences, like you will bend over backwards on a lot of shit. I would
So
just say
is
that.
that how you end up taking the trash out, Mick?
I'm not talking about marriage, man. I'm talking about fetishes. You will work with a lot, like, to please, if that's your thing. So with that being said, I worked in a lot of bars, in different places, sometimes dance bars, things like that.
Yeah.
And bouncing. That's it. Like,
You
it's
do.
not like
When you're 6'8", Paul and I wouldn't know. So.
It's not like they're like, hey, you be the bar manager. And they're like, no, we know where we're putting you, Rocco. You're sitting right here.
You're the bar back. Yay.
You know how many bartenders climbed on top of me for fun?
You know how many times I would have climbed on your back as a bar back? Like every time.
Every time, dude.
I'd be like, my friends are
Paul,
here.
you can
I'd
be
climb on your
Paul.
back
You
and
can
be
be
like,
my bar back whenever you want.
Everybody, it's, you know what it is, like, hey, come on, people, like, stop climbing on top of me. But like, that was the thing, like, I just, like, even like when I would work with like women and stuff like that, I was like, let's just talk. I was like, that's kind of what I want. I'll flirt, I didn't mind, but like, I just kind of dug getting to know people.
I wasn't below flirting with middle-aged women as a bartender my entire bartender like life, because they would tip. If you flirted, they would tip. I did that a lot. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I took the hell out of their money. You may as well call me a stripper for that case. But like, and it, like, if there was a single woman who was like between 40 and I'd say, like, because we didn't get many women that were single above 60 ever in a bar, but if they were between 40 and 60, I would straight up like talk them up, and they would tip. Oh, would they tip? After their sixth glass of Riesling, and they're like, "Oh, you, he." Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you love
thank you
you
for that
love cougars.
$35 tip. I appreciate you.
You love silver-haired cougars, and you hate Tom Cruise. This is what
Oh, I
we
love
talked
Tom
about
Cruise.
here,
I love Tom
bartending.
Cruise. Tom Cruise is the top 10 actor for me. We've had that conversation.
No, I'm talking about as a person.
Oh, I don't know.
See, now everything you guys were talking about instills that you guys are cool to show you how uncool I am. You guys know Scary Movie 2? You
Yes.
know the dirty talk where she's wearing the fucking football thing? That's my ass. You ask me dirty
Nice.
talk, I'm like,
Oh,
I'm a shit on your chest, Ray. Like I say
I
some
have
weird shit.
no doubt. I have no like going in, and I please do tell stories. Go right ahead.
No, I don't think I can. I have to ask permission, Nick.
But I'm like, yeah. If you tell stories, they might just deport you just on the sheer fact that you have those stories.
I betrayed it.
They're like
The good name of
not even
Americans.
a deportation. They're like, this one's exile. Send this one to China.
Oh, man.
Oh God.
Make sure
We
it's
should
always
get on to our
consensual,
topic.
and make sure you record it when you go to court because they'll save your ass.
Future of cinema. I'm
Future
super
of cinema.
excited.
Yeah, we went to the past. We gotta go to the future.
We got to go to the
Uh,
well. We're ending up going to the past to go to the future, but future of cinema. I really was looking forward to this topic. I not just because like I'm a sci-fi nerd, obviously, but also because a large part of my master's thesis focused on dystopian science fiction. So I'm really pumped about
This
this.
topic has nothing to do with dystopia or the future.
It totally
This is
does.
It says the future of cinema.
Yeah. And then, so the job of cinema, and this is my take. The job of cinema when they are positing the future is to demonstrate logical conclusions based upon a sequence of events. Right. And in a large part, a lot of those end up in dystopian outsets. And so that's why I really like this is like, we may be living through the dystopia right now, but at one point in cinema, especially like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they were postulating what this would look like. Right. And that's why I love this topic is like, what does the future look like? And what is the future of cinema, as you said? Like, I love both.
I promise you, we will do a sci-fi month if you want. I don't care. Let's get into it, and we can examine all. But I want to talk about where do we see movies going? Where do we see film? Where do we see the cinema? Where do we see streaming? Right now, we just learned of a huge $500 billion AI infrastructure that's going to be laid down. Do you think that will not be incorporated into the movie world somehow? Of course it will be. How do we do this? Like, I want to get into the particulars if we can. We are going to talk futuristic movies soon, though.
Hell yeah.
We do have top fives coming up in a bit. But the direction that we see right now, how do you guys feel about even the change of what cinema looks like over the past 10 years? We're in 2025 now, 2015, let's say. Do you think it's vastly changed? Do you think it's gotten better?
I think it's gotten a little better as far as just a cinematic experience just from regular projectors, even though they have the good nostalgia to them. I love a laser projector. And I could tell a difference pretty instantly how vivid the colors are and how sharp everything is. And even the black spaces, because it doesn't know what to do with the negative space. It's nice having a laser projector that has it there and it just looks black. It's not kind of that off color black where you're like, cool, thanks you guys. And for me, audio is a big thing. So I think speaker systems have just increased with Dolby Atmos being incorporated in a lot more theaters to where you have 16, 18 channel theaters where everything sounds like it's around you. So for me, I think it's gotten a lot better for that reason. But my fear is with cinema is, COVID didn't help anything with theaters dwindling out and everything going to streaming. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, I'm kind of 50-50. I could see drive-ins making a comeback just because everyone's trying to go back and enjoy a new experience. But I can also see it all just going to streaming because, theaters, I feel like a lot of the big chains just keep going out, around here at least. And it's a lot of these newer little companies popping up. And I think within the next, let's say 10 years, I think there'll probably only be 2 or 3 theaters around here instead of the maybe 10 or 12 we have currently.
I could get on board with that. I think one of the things that has changed the most, if you're going to say 10 years, can I stretch it to 20 years? Do you mind? Like,
I don't care. Stretch as much as you want.
Okay. Like, so I've thought a lot about Lord of the Rings the past 2 years, the movies, not just the movies, the books, but like the movies. Okay. And in the mid 2000s, we saw the conclusion of that trilogy, right? You see Return of the King, all that stuff. I think it was 2003, right? 2004.
Yeah, yeah, about that.
You usher in this era of cinema, if you're talking about going to the theater specifically, where spectacle now has to equal that, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you're talking about, whether it's the MCU, Harry Potter, whatever, they pick your franchise, like, and so it becomes about franchising inside the cinema, and it's less about creating the cinema going experience and more about creating a need to go to the cinema, which is like inversely created, right? Now, post-pandemic, suddenly you see this difference in terms of how they're going about things. And I'll be honest, like, I love what they're trying to do. It's basically, okay, you want to watch the movie at home on streaming, right? How can we recreate that environment for you at the theater? You know, we have theaters here where you can get beer. We have theaters here where you don't sit in the normal theater.
Well, I think it's just evolved over time, especially when you come from theater and it had to, because cinema. I honestly, I think first of all, the mark that really hit where cinema, two things really kind of set the downward angle, and then it was sort of saved in the 90s and then just kind of kept going. They went the wrong direction after Star Wars came out, Phantom Menace. But the birth of the blockbuster, and I'm not talking about Psycho, I'm talking about, or even Exorcist. I'm talking about really Jaws, which was that summer blockbuster.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that credit. Yep.
But there was still a desire for coming out of that. That was midway through the 70s, and it was still a dark time for the 70s. But there was still a desire for stories more than just spectacle. But as we get into the 80s, which is the second part of this, in my opinion, that really kind of started that downward trend, is the 80s is filled with nothing but spectacle. Every movie is spectacle. There's in every 80s movie, and listen, Back to the Future is my favorite movie of all time. I'm not shitting on 80s movies. I'm just saying in every 80s movie, there's far less substance than any other decade in terms of movies. It is.
It's very forward. I'll say that.
And the second closest to that I've seen is probably the last 10 years. And it's been building over the last 20, 25 years. The 90s hit with an indie boom.
It did. Yep.
And you know, the good ones stuck around. Some of the ones other kind of fell under and still do some low budget or don't do it anymore. But they, after Phantom Menace came out, that 90s, because 99 is still, in my opinion, one of the best years of movies ever.
It was good. Yeah.
It was just banger after banger. Every movie was coming out, because like you think about the 80s, and the 80s is filled with a lot of.
I love the 80s, but it's filled with a lot of trash. Oh man,
well, there's
people
trash.
Forget about the VHS boom and some of the stuff that came out in the 80s. People forget about.
But like I said, there's no real depth to it either. But if you think about some of the movies that came out in just 1999, Blair Witch Project, which any of these movies I name, whenever you personally think about them, they were at least influential. Eyes Wide Shut, you know, Fight
American
Club,
Beauty, right?
American Beauty, Deep Blue Sea, Man on the Moon, you know, like this is, and these are just some, and as I'm going through, I'm like, there's some I'm not even so perfect.
We got to get Michael Appel.
I was so excited I was sitting there, I'm like reading all these movies. I was like, 1999 was probably one of the best years for movies ever, and I'm not saying the best year, but one of the best years.
Yeah, I'd argue 89 had some wow.
89 was fantastic, but 89 was that crux where you're getting into the 90s, and like Spike Lee was one of those indie directors that kind of ushered in that movement, and others. And so 89 had a lot, which pisses me off because the worst fucking movie got Best Picture that year. And there's so many good movies that came out that year.
What was the Best Picture in 89? I don't remember.
Meet the Stupids.
Driving Miss Daisy. It is.
But
Nothing happens.
Morgan Freeman that plays Morgan Freeman does a great job in that film.
Holy shit, I just thought about it. I always say that, and I don't know. I just figured it out. I told you in the 80s, there's no substance, right? From Tron all the way up, like there's no substance in the fucking movies. They're all spectacle. It is court, and then you get 89 where you see these usher of like indie directors who were there. They're there in the 80s too. Yeah. There's a lot of great substance films in the 80s. Don't get me wrong. And Justice for All is from 1981, I think. So, but like those are like movies you don't talk about, you know. So for me, like it says something that, of course, in 1989, out of all these great movies that came out, the last movie to win Best Picture in 1989 has no substance whatsoever. There's one
That's
racial
not a bad film, Mick. That's not a
tone
bad
to it.
film.
It is a terrible movie.
Oh, come on, man. It's not
Oh,
Morgan
don't
Freeman's best
defend it.
performance, but that's not a bad film.
But like nothing happens in
Okay,
it, and
think
then
about this,
except for
though.
like one racial scene with a cop where she white saviors it, and then like that's it.
How do you feel about this? Because we'll fast forward to a decade later. We're talking about cinema, and you got the Oscars coming up.
Yep. Yeah.
Shakespeare in Love winning Best Picture over Saving Private Ryan.
I didn't realize that. Holy shit. That's fucked up. That's fucked.
It is. Some would argue for it, I'm sure.
I was actually just talking with other people about this. Like, there are multiple times in history that, people will talk about Forrest Gump over Shawshank, which I stand by the way. And I know I'm probably unpopular on this podcast for saying that, but
Forrest Gump over.
Yeah, I stand on that. I think it's a better movie than Shawshank.
You think it's a pleasant movie because it gives you the good feels.
No, I think it's a better movie. I think it's a better movie. I think it's better acted. I have my issues with Shawshank, and we can touch on that at some point. I have my issues with Shawshank. I have issues with it.
It's the ultimate white savior movie. From childhood, he influenced everything in pop culture. And
well, it's the baby boomer jerk off movie, but like
exactly. That's why we're here, because they think Forrest Gump is their lives.
We're measuring the quality of film and the acting, right? Like, I think it's a better film.
Most people in the world are ever influential to no more than 10 people. And that is a meaningful thing. If you can influence in a good way, I think, in a positive way, any one person in your life have an influential connection with or something.
10? Is that limited? Is that limited?
Well, that's, I've heard that. Yeah. So I did not make that up. I did.
No, I didn't think you made it up, but like, that's it.
I say it matter of factly, and you believe me, and I love it.
How many? Because like, I think I have no idea, but I know it's more than 10. I know it's more than 10 people as a teacher and as a principal.
Yes, you do. I'm not saying you can't influence.
That's why it's surprising. That's why it's surprising. Like, because I don't think about myself as special in any way. I'm not I'm not unique.
No.
Like,
no. I'm not saying, especially teachers. Like, over the years, of course, you're going to influence lots of people. It depends.
And Forrest Gump influenced a whole lot of people.
Everything. Not a whole bunch.
Do you know who the author of the book is? The book's great. Both books are great. By the way.
Not only did Forrest Gump influence the entirety of 1950s and 60s. But he also what's his name went to work for NASA, so I'm sure that had something to do with the 80s, and then it took place in the 90s.
Yeah, there's a sequel.
One person he couldn't even influence to sleep with him was Jenny.
Well, I mean, he is like, but like,
we get it.
We got to get in that. We got to do an Oscars show sometime, because I have quite a few. You know what movie should have won Best Picture and didn't even get nominated, by the way?
Yeah.
Collateral. Like,
that was a great movie.
Jamie Foxx. You brought up Jamie Foxx, and it almost has elements. What's weird is I know you're doing film noir this month. It has elements of film noir in it. It's Michael Mann's best film by far. Like, and it's not even close in my opinion. Like,
I would fit that more into film noir than like a neo noir.
Right? Like, it's, even though people will call it neo noir, I don't. I mean, what does that have in common with Blade Runner? Like, I think that there are movies in history that should have been nominated that weren't, because honestly, the Oscars, and we know this, are just like, it's not just political, because it is. Look at the listing this year. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that Nosferatu is not nominated for Best Picture.
They'll never do too. Why do you think everything that the substance is nominated for, Nosferatu is not nominated for, and then Nosferatu is nominated for everything the substance is not nominated for? They can't do.
As an inside guy that has been in there, how is it possible?
I wasn't in the Academy.
No, but I mean, you were.
Oh yeah. I used to hang out at the Academy. It was fun.
Like, how is it possible? Because this was brought up on a documentary I watched. How is it possible that Best Picture, the director, doesn't automatically win Best Director?
That's for very good reason. Like, you can have a Best Picture. So, like, let's pick a Best Picture.
Dune Part 2. Okay.
Because he didn't.
So first of all, there you go, right there.
Zemeckis didn't win Best Director, right?
And he did. And I, again, Back to the Future fan, and I love Zemeckis' work. But
he's second rate Spielberg, right? He's second rate Spielberg.
No, I'd say he's got a different enough footprint. Like used cars alone, it's a different enough footprint where you're not Spielbergified. I think he was just friends with Spielberg as they were kind of coming up. And Spielberg produced some things, but for the most part, like Zemeckis is pretty out there. Here suck, like there's some things where it misses when it comes to Zemeckis. And I like Forrest Gump.
Spielberg's had misses too. We'll talk about that one. Spielberg.
True. I will not say he doesn't, but
also his version of Color Purple was atrocious, and I know people love it. I don't care. That was a terrible film.
All right, I gotta move on. So we get not having that argument. We haven't even talked about the future. So as we're kind of
sorry, I no,
it's not your fault. Man. I'm getting into this. I like the conversation. So we're talking about the Oscars. Think about 1995 when, or was it 94 or 95 that it won?
94 was Forrest Gump. 94.
Okay, 1994.
I mean, it won in 95, but it was for the year 94.
Well, I'm trying to remember who everybody was because I've been focused on this Oscars. So
it beat Shawshank. It beat.
So Best Picture, yeah. So Schindler's List didn't win. Best Picture. Forrest Gump did.
Forrest Gump's better film. Shawshank's 3 hours and 15 minutes, man.
Okay. Well, then let's argue this. Fine. Forrest Gump is a better movie for you, but Schindler's List is a masterpiece in filmmaking.
I don't disagree with being
Best Director.
I just think in 1994, Forrest Gump was a better film.
Here's why I think
those things can be dissociated, right? Like
I don't know how to. You're so
context
stubborn.
Matters. Don't make the mistake of removing the film from the time period under which it's released, right? Like
I didn't. I was comparing it to the ones that it came out with.
But that's not just that. Think about the historical events. Everything is going 94. We're being like relieved from what was a recession that had been taking place post Reagan, post Bush. Like we're relieving out of this. People want optimism. They don't want what that film has to offer. Like,
but that's the thing. The Academy Awards isn't about what the audience wants. It's about what the industry votes on. And
it should just be about what's best for the year.
I'm telling if you're working the fucking industry, you are probably a cinephile. And I'm telling you now.
You don't think so? You think those guys? You think those guys and ladies are sitting down there and they are actual cinephiles? You think?
Not everyone. No, I've met plenty actors. Usually not, but
I mean the people that are voting, the board or whatever.
Well,
because I watched the documentary that kind of tried to find the people that vote for this stuff. Have you seen that documentary? I can't remember the name of it. I wish I could, but
if you tell me, I remember the MPAA one. I think I have seen it on the voting, but I don't remember.
They tried it, so it's secret who actually votes on the Oscars. It's like super secret, right? Like
no, it's everybody who's a member. They all get voting screeners and voting cards.
I thought the documentary said it was like a secret committee of these people who have the voting cards, and it's those people actually determine.
They count them. I don't know if there's a secret. There's a company they use. I can't remember.
I don't think like who would sit there in 2000 and say like Shakespeare in Love is a good film, let alone better than Saving Private Ryan, right? Cinephiles wouldn't. Like
I'm essentially saying the same fucking thing. Forrest Gump should not have beaten out Schindler's List. I'm saying the same thing.
That's not the same thing at all. Do not compare Forrest Gump to
it's a lighthearted romp about a fucking guy who thinks a little bit. I don't even know what to say here anymore. It's just different, I guess. Neurodivergent. Let's say that. I guess that's
I like that.
Hey, it was depression. It was pre-neurodivergence shaping time.
I'm just using the correct term now in this podcast that I'm doing. Anyway,
it's way ahead of its time.
I don't know what's legal anymore. I don't know what's right anymore. Up is down, down is up. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah.
So
Miller time.
What I'm saying to you is when they vote, it goes to a company, they tally everything and all the votes and stuff. I will tell you some of the secrets, not secrets, they're like little things. If a person is on the same category is nominated twice, they are way more likely to lose because nobody really likes to split the vote.
Oh my.
So it is, so like that's always kind of a tough one. It's a big night. Like the reason that actors are so tied to it is, and actors usually aren't cinephiles. I'm not saying they all aren't. Actually, the deeper into generations we get, they are. But think about actors from the 80s and 70s. Like, they didn't grow up with that. They were a lot more talked about theater and stuff like that. So
Rat Pack and stuff, you mean?
Yeah, I think that's where like the tides sort of started changing, and then in the 90s you get a bunch of people who are always like talking about movies and cool stuff, like, and that became more of a trend as it went on, and you never saw in the 70s anybody quoting a movie in a movie, you know what I mean?
Can we call it the Kevin Smith effect?
They quote Shakespeare. So a great thing to follow on YouTube is the Scene Snobs channel. But besides that, another great thing to follow is the Criterion channel, and they do a thing called In the Closet, where they invite filmmakers, they invite actors, all different people to come in the industry and pick movies out and talk about what they're picking out, what they like, the Criterion version. And you can learn a lot from it. There's one that just came out and you can tell who likes movies but isn't a cinephile, and the brother is a cinephile, and that is the Washington brothers, Malcolm and John Washington, Denzel's kids. I can't think of his middle name, but John Washington is,
I know what you're talking about
from Tenet and such. They were in there and they're having a fun time. Malcolm is a director and John is an actor, and John's picks were great. He picked the Bruce Lee collection, things like that, like great picks. But like, you get to Malcolm and it's like, you're a filmmaker, you're a cinephile. He's picking up stuff. I'm like, that is awesome, and you learn a lot about those.
Thinking about the future of film and the future of cinema, right? You just said this, like this divergence between these two brothers. Okay. Mm-hmm. What is the next 10 years going to look like in terms of what's released, and this second part I think is a much more important question. The first question is obviously just to get me back on track, but the second part I think is far more important. How do we separate, I don't know a better word to call it other than fart sniffing, right? From legitimate. Like, I don't know better. If you can think of a better way to put that, Mick, producer man, please do. But I can't think of a better way to put it other than that, because I have a serious issue.
I'll go with fart sniffers. I said the other day on the show.
Yeah. If we're talking about, like, because I have a serious, like, you brought it up in the reviews prior to this episode, right? You just talked about this Wolfman, right? Mm-hmm. Like somebody drinking their own Kool-Aid, fart sniffing, whatever you want to call it. And that's what it sounded like to me. I haven't seen the film. I'm glad you did it spoiler free, basically. Like, how do we divide that which is meaningful to go see in the cinema versus, and I'm going to pick on them because I do all the time anyway, this A24, which I found out was named after a random road in Italy, by the way, just to make it more fart.
Oh boy.
How do we divide between those two? Because I think that the future cinemas become more polarized in terms of that. We're going to get more watered down stuff. You want to call it MCU, you want to call it whatever it is. We're going to get really watered down stuff that sells billions of dollars, right? That's
no. We're gonna. First of all, we're all gonna run out of money before we can keep buying billions of dollars. I don't think so. It's going to be honestly, I think it's going to be the death of a lot of cinema. But where the death comes in, I could see new life being breathed. I do think, and I have always said this coming up, that I do think that movies since their birth have affected the populace in their mood. And now I think
I've said that before too.
I think not just that they affect the populace, but also society and like what's going on in the world at that time is affecting the movies, because it's affecting the filmmakers. That's the stories they're trying to tell, of course, and we can go through and you see when the most cynical movies are coming out, that it's the hardest times, right? 2000s, it was kind of a decline because 2008 took us out in 9/11 and everything. Like that was like the start of this like sort of like dark age. And then movies have gotten darker and darker, right? Like we have, of course, there's positives that come out, but like there's always a cynical tone, and it's getting more and more cynical. I think once we can get to an upswing to
more Forrest Gump,
see something like an 80s and 90s again, or before that a 50s into the 60s, so get that upswing and like generate more positivity in the populace. You tell more positive movies. I'm not saying that deep movies but like even the deep movies back then had positivity and had happy endings most times.
Well,
And-
sometimes by law and rule, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was thinking more along the 80s time, but you're right. Because even you think about it, like the early turn of the century, coming out of the war, World War One, early 20s, like it was started going real dark, and then of course the 30s, 40s, then you have the upswing and the 40s.
Do you
50s.
think there should be more oversight like that time period where you have an actual more control? The MPAA basically has more control over outcomes at the ends of movies.
No.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm
that's
I'm
the mafia
postulating that
more than
question.
anything. Like that's
Like I, you know
not-
what I'm
not
referencing?
now.
Like
not now. but-
monsters have to die at the end. Nobody can sleep in the same beds. Like that's.
I'm going to say something controversial. It's actually sort of conservative. So Paul, don't get a hard on. But
Too late.
I think I like the MPAA more now, and I'm not saying from a personal standpoint. I'm talking about from what they're doing with audiences, right?
Okay.
Filmmakers, I'm sure, hate them still, but like I don't know if they're easy to work with or not.
Because they're expensive. I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah, their plan right now and what they've got going on. It's my only thing is I almost wish that there was a bit more oversight.
You want a filter?
On certain things.
I want zero filter. I'm not gonna lie. I want zero filter.
Now, I'm not saying nothing
I
should
am like
exist.
zero filter guy.
I'm not saying that the things we get should exist. I'm not saying it shouldn't be all different voices. I'm not saying doesn't exist shouldn't be there on platforms and such. But I think you should demand with platforms coming out that kids shows and movies and TV shows and other stuff that don't mix with each other. Disney is probably the one that does it the best, and it's still a nightmare because it's now that they edit Hulu and everything.
Hulu and they include everything else, right? Like,
originally, at least, it was mostly Disney. Once they started adding the rated R, like everything and Hulu and all that stuff, it mixed in, and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I know the MPAA doesn't. Oh, well, it's the MPAA now, but doesn't have that oversight over streaming, and they don't. There are marks they have to put down. TVMA. Well, that's TV, but film is mature. Stuff like that. So I do think that there needs to be a little more oversight with how things are sort of doled out, if that makes sense. And honestly, at some point we might have to start rating trailers.
Paul?
I mean, I kind of agree. See, I'm in a different boat than Mick because I don't have kids, so any of us watch anything. So it's not like I got to make a separate profile. I'm not worried about these things. These things, not to be rude, they just don't affect me because I watch everything. But I can understand exactly what you're saying, and I can imagine for older parents that aren't hip to technology, not understanding to set those parameters. I can understand the nightmare of you can watch Disney Plus because they assume everything on Disney is fine. Then their 8-year-olds watching Deadpool 2, and then they're like, oh god, like now my kids.
I have it. So I have 6 and 7-year-olds in my elementary school that I am the principal of that have seen Deadpool.
That's insane.
I can't believe that you're a principal. I've never heard that.
And I love it. You'd be a cool principal. I'd be like, send me to principals now.
I want a ticker on this show that goes off every time you mention principal.
Well, here's the thing: is like I have to balance. So Mick has a job as a dad, thinking about the future of cinema and how he wants things to go. Right, Paul? No kids. I have no kids, but I'm also a principal.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Mick, I can see a lot of different perspectives in this, and it's really hard for me to reconcile this. I am anti-filter.
No, and listen, I'm anti-filter, but like as much as like,
but I have to reconcile that with the fact that I don't want my
things.
7-year-old second graders to have watched Deadpool, and they quoted at me, and they know because they look at me and they quote Deadpool at me, and I have to pretend.
Yeah,
that I have no idea what they're talking.
And that's listen, that's kids things. All I'm saying is the type of oversight I'm saying, it doesn't even have to be an MPA or anything like that, but like some sort of an oversight where it's like, okay, streaming channels, because the movies do it. The movies do it here. Yeah. They're getting a little wild with their R rating now. Like there's a lot. I was like, I do like that there's an NC-17. I do like, because that doesn't mean dirty.
There should be
it means levels, and like when you get there, it's like I know what I'm getting into. You know, not everything should be rated R, because some things should be NC-17.
Yes.
Some things should be X, and that's okay too. Even if like you put like the movie X as X, and which is fine as rated R, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I was
you
pretty
get a
lightweight.
point.
I was actually kind of disappointed. I was like,
Yeah. In fact, it should be NC-17, and like that's okay. It's not.
Right.
It's not taboo anymore, and that's fine. And that's what I think. I think we need to
I gotcha.
normalize it more. But I don't mind the oversight of, because I do think that kids, from experience, and I don't know if you guys will agree, but from experience, I wish I didn't watch a lot of the things I did when I was a kid as a movie fan,
I feel the exact opposite.
and waited until I was like at an age where like it really hits. Because I rewatch things now, and I'm like,
I saw that at 7.
yeah, but that's different. That's one you watch at 7. Well, we watched at 7. I won't.
Right? Like but my mom, and kudos to Vicky, she watched him with me. Not, and I like, the rule in my house when I got to be a teenager was, if she doesn't see it, she doesn't hear it, it's okay. It was a non-censorship house. But prior to that, when I was younger, she would sit down and teach me the difference between fantasy and reality. And she's like, this is fantasy, this is fake, it's a story. And I think my mom did a great job at making me a well-adjusted young person. While at the same time also, and she was a young mom. I mean,
Must be nice.
When I was 5, she was 23. You know? Like, she made me a well-adjusted young person. I was very much so like, and she would tell me, like, listen, you and I do this stuff. You don't bring it to school. Like, I remember bringing my RoboCop toys to first grade and playing with them. I have this, like, you know, you have vague memories, but playing with them on the side, kids being like, what is that? I was like, oh, it's a robot. Because I was told, you know, I watched RoboCop with at the time, the man my mom was married to. I watched RoboCop with him, and he was like, listen, you and I are watching this. You know, I was 6. I saw RoboCop. That's not a movie you should see when you're 6 years old. But I saw it, and he's like, you don't talk to other people about it. And I didn't. You know, I went to school. I brought my little RoboCop toy, and I just said it was a robot. And I come home and be like, ha ha ha, my friends don't know what RoboCop is. Now, did it make me age faster, and now I'm a bitter old curmudgeon? Maybe. But like, well, I don't know. I talk about the future of cinema. Like, this is a controversial take. I want more movie theaters to do what my local one did. And after 6 p.m., if you are under the age of 17, you need an adult. Basically,
disagree.
Like,
hard disagree.
Why?
Paul's with me on this one. He
6
knows.
is too early. I would say after 9.
Nah, 6, because they're still going to sneak in till at least 8 or 9. Because the kids aren't going to check the IDs
Right,
anyway.
So at 6 o'clock, the movie releases at 8, Mick. That's why.
It's hard enough with no malls around anymore.
There's still malls here.
Holy, yeah, but not
kind
like,
of. I mean, they're
always packed out here.
Well, then
they're not safe around here, but they're all there.
Oh, well, then there you go. Like, there are a lot
our mall's just sad.
But I can't stand
in high school. In high school, you're going down to the movies with your friends, hanging out there. Even if it wasn't at a mall, like, you know, you just got dropped off at the multiplex or something. You guys went and saw a movie. You hung out.
No more.
You can't. But they're definitely not doing it anymore. If you ban them at 6, what if a teenager wants to take his little teenager?
Nah, he wants to do dabs and try to get her pregnant as quickly as possible.
Yeah, you better make that.
Okay. That is not every teenager. I venture to say there's more better parents than terrible parents. And
I think
I disagree. I think go back 20, 30 years with our parents, that's a different story. But now there's more people like millennials and Gen Z that are growing up that are like, I don't want to be that.
I think the internet fucked up everything and has made it worse. Because like I said, when my little sister type person at 13 had an OnlyFans and didn't get caught until her parents were like, where's this money coming from?
Wait,
like
what?
She was like 13 because it was before they added the verification, shit like that.
Jesus,
so I'm saying there are problems like that. So you want me to think these kids are going to enjoy a movie? Fuck no.
I don't know that I believe that. I don't know that I believe that. Unless like it was really bad, because for me to get on there to be able to post and stuff, I still have to get approval for some shit. And like, I sent my license, my picture, everything. Like,
right.
They are so like, I mean, if she did it back then, I don't know how long ago that was, but like, it ain't like that anymore. I'll tell you that much. It's an odd situation Ooh, that is.
But that's what I'm saying. Like these kids, they're not chilling at the theaters like that anymore. I don't even see that many
Do you
kids there.
think every
during the
kid
day.
like that though? Do you think every kid is like that? You think the majority of kids are so fucked up?
Majority, 100%.
I gotta disagree, man. I gotta disagree that they're that fucked up and lost because of the internet. Like that's
Just how everything's
Joe Rogan
accessible.
type of talk. You want to go on his podcast?
Nick,
Go
I
ahead.
don't want to. So this is what I'll say: as somebody that has interacted with tens of thousands.
Yeah, I would actually. What do you got for us?
There's been a hard shift over 20 years of my career. I mean, I've been in education for 20 years. I'm 41. I've been in education in some fashion since 21. That there's been a hard shift, and it happened right around 2015, where it's weird. People who are basically what you'd say 12 or 11 all the way to 18 are exposed to more mature stuff than we ever did. Even when here I am talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where my mom covered my face.
Hence the oversight, by the way.
Right, like they're exposed to stuff. I mean, I without outing anything specific, I wrote a kid up yesterday and suspended him for 3 days who was 8 years old that had his phone in the classroom watching porn. Like when I was 8, I didn't even know what porn was.
But how many times a day does it happen?
I got to imagine.
No, in your school, how many times a day and with how many students does that happen?
Well, we also have a ban now. After last year, we have a ban. Students cannot have their phones during the school. Last year, daily.
So my point being, there's a law of averages here.
Last year was
one
daily
so far.
Last year, when students had access to their phone all day, daily, I had to suspend kids for accessing inappropriate stuff.
Little itty bitty kids, like 8 years old.
Anyway, like I had a 6-year-old that brought, and he was watching people get like murdered and shot, and then he went out on the playground and he knocked.
Maybe I am so fucking out of touch with the world.
I'm like, so
I'm definitely not so out of touch with the world that what's going on in it right now I can't see it. Fucked up. All right.
I'm just being honest about this stuff, Mick. Like,
but
it was a daily. So I had a kid who was in second grade last year. Looked up how to make a pipe bomb on his Chromebook.
That's fucking nuts. But again, I maintain, I'm not saying there aren't fucked up kids. I know fucked up kid. I was one. What I'm saying is, over 20 years, you've seen thousands of students.
And things have gotten progressively more aggressive.
They've gotten progressively darker. I was talking about that. We are in a dark age.
Like, it's what happened. Like, and I said it, like, so the other side of that is this: they've been exposed to more mature things, and they have less capability of understanding. That's what I'll say. Less comprehension of understanding the severity of those things. So what happens now, and in large part, like in Michigan anyway, I can't talk about Virginia or New York. Like in Michigan, we've had teen pregnancies like go back up. It's been since we had a Republican governor who instituted not abortion. Sorry, what's the word? Abstinence only sex education. So since they instituted abstinence only sex education, we've had, and I mean, it doesn't like. We've had pregnancies back on the rise because they're not teaching them about how to prevent that, right? Like that's all of these things coalesce into this weird kind of like amalgamation of the oldest, youngest people you've ever met. And that's it. I don't know how other way to put it. It's this weird dichotomy of young people who have access to what it means to be an adult with no comprehension of how to process. And if you want to talk about like the crises in terms of mental health of people under the age 18, I know we're getting way off cinema here, but this is my platform. You want to talk about the mental health crisis of people under the age of 18. One of the biggest problems is the exposure to things that are, extreme. I have kindergartners saying they're Wolverine, but not like, I'm comic Wolverine and I'm saving the day. Like I'm Wolverine and I'm going to like impale people because they watched Wolverine in Deadpool 3 do that.
Yeah.
Here's the other side of this. And hopefully this doesn't make please don't come after me, people. Parents come in and they meet with me, they come in and meet me and they're like, no, absolutely. He watched that. Did you? And I'm like, did you help? Did you watch it? No. He sat there and watched it. I went and did the dishes, whatever. Like,
Yeah, no filter.
like
So
I
you
think
just proved my whole point.
the crisis is this, Mick. Is it's not a crisis of children, it's a crisis of parents.
That saddens me.
I would get skewered for saying that, but I'm sorry. Like like, you know what? Stop buying your kids phones before they're 18.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Like,
I do agree with that.
there's a reason why the
Keep 'em off
wealthiest
social
people in
media.
America don't allow their children to have phones until they're 18 years old. There's a reason. They know.
I think
like-
everybody should be off social media now. Like, yeah, like really just at this point, it's just so convoluted and disgusting. Every bit of it.
I really want to talk about our top 5. I know I got off.
I want to talk about our top. Well, you were the one that went on a tangent about how everything.
I know. I'm blaming myself. I take the blame on this one.
Yeah, it's your fault. All right. Top 5 countdown of things we didn't even friggin' talk about tonight. The future. No, it's our top 5 countdown of futuristic movies. I'm excited. I had a parameter on mine, so I figured we'll just go around the horn real fast. My parameter was it's takes place. It doesn't have to take place on Earth, but it's an Earth-based movie. So it's a futuristic in the sense that, like, okay, this is Earth and just down the line. So let's start with our number 5s. I'm gonna go, Paul. What do you got?
Number 5, I went with Sunshine by Danny Boyle.
Good,
Great movie.
Good. I love that movie.
And my parameters were ones I think, are plausible. I'm not going to say likely or anything like that, but at least plausible in my opinion.
I get that. Yeah, no, I get that. And that's sort of like the route I sort of went with. Some of them are a little fantastical, but yeah, I like that. What do you got for me, Dan? What's your number 5?
Plausibility was a huge barrier for me, but also I wanted ones that were prescient. I wanted them to be attempting to predict. That's it. That was a thing for me. Is like not like, so I mean, obviously it's futuristic, so it's about prediction, but like intentional prediction versus my number 5 is Demolition Man. In particular, the desexualization of modern society, that I think we're going to see the development of, especially when we talk about consensualism versus non-consensualism, all that stuff. Like, we're going to see the development of that kind of sexuality that's presented in that film. Forget the Taco Bell stuff. Forget, Dennis Leary living in the basement or whatever. Like, I think the number one accuracy they really had was like,
I didn't know we were going for accuracy, but okay.
I like it, Dan.
No, Demolition.
I love that movie.
And you know what's funny? It's not Taco Bell everywhere. There are ones you can see on TV now where he says Pizza Hut because did different. There were different ones in different countries.
Yep. Yeah.
So So I thought that was funny because there are people who are like Mandela effect. I'm like, no. I remember on the DVD.
I didn't realize did they do that a lot back then with movies? I just didn't know that. So
redub things just in case for product placement or something. Yeah. Huh. I mean, I don't want to say a lot, but yeah, it's become more and more prevalent over the years. My number 5 for this is Interstellar. Beautiful. Yes. I mean, and it's from these are like Earth-based movies, but like I picked them because they're probably my top 5. You know what I just realized? Ooh, I'm gonna have to change this out. I gotta have a Denis Villeneuve, who is not nominated for Best Director, by the way.
How is Dune 2? Never mind. We're off that.
Right.
Yeah.
Futuristic movie.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, number 4. What you got, Paul?
I had to think about the Mafia, so I went with Looper.
Ooh. Oh, cool. All right. That was a good one.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's one of Bruce Willis's best films.
I like this too because you're going like so far it's been like independent, like kind of off the beaten path. Very nice. What do you got for me, Dan? What's your number 4?
Snowpiercer, not the TV show.
No, the movie.
Right?
Yeah. That's the only one I've seen. I haven't seen the TV show.
So there's a whole TV show that, I mean, it went for one season. It was bad. I checked out the first episode. It's like, nah, I'm not. Like, that's, I mean, how do you tell a story about
like 5 seasons now?
Is there?
Yeah. They would have it on.
It's so, like, but the film and how it, like, demonstrates this idea of, like, survival, especially in the face of what is becoming like, especially in Michigan, it's gotten so aggressive. Climate change and how things have shifted in terms of it. I love how it's predicting what people would have to do. And now some video games have even clatched onto this, by the way. But I love how it presents the problems that we're facing now in a way that's like, okay, here's the ultimate conclusion. I love that about it. It's well acted too. Chris Evans' best movie.
All right, my number 4 is you know what? I'm gonna pull it on this one, and I'm gonna say,
oh, you're gonna make an audible.
Yep, Blade Runner 2049.
Hell yes.
And it was Blade Runner.
I just combine. Like, we'll get to mine, but I just combine.
It's fair, but I mean, if I'm going one, like, the sequel, just the look, the feel, he nailed it on everything.
Yeah.
But and I think it was just a better story, personally.
Oh,
I like that original, but it also depends on what cut you're going with. I mean, directors,
true. Yeah,
you know, and that's the thing. 2049, it's just like that's it. That's it's just good. It's just a great movie. Like, you don't have to pick out which version you like. So that's why I attribute to that. But
how about the AI sex part? Because that's the one that I think is the like.
I'm waiting. They're going to put in a big infrastructure. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to have so much AI sex. I'm going to please the AI sex bot so much. You have to go watch the podcast. If you're watching this as a clip, that's an Easter egg for the podcast.
Lights are going to flicker now. It's going to be like, Dad's busy again. Just
I don't know why I'm saying she. It's an AI, but AI is just basically AI is just basically like, no, I'm supposed to help you, and it's like, nah, I got you. I want to keep you happy, not taking over humanity.
You're not gonna tell me to go take out the trash.
Does that happen to you? You've just like, that's like the second time you brought it up.
I think so. Oh.
All right,
Paul, number 3.
Oh, what's your number 3?
So number 3, we already have this, but I think it's going to be advanced as this eventually. I went with Her.
Oh, interesting.
See, I thought long and hard about that, and I took 2049 because I thought their projection of what happens in Her is better in 2049. If I made my list
like
of 25, it would be on
more.
there. But yeah.
All right, I like it. Dan, what do you got? What's your 3?
My number 3 was Ex Machina, and I think that, like, you know, it's not just about predicting in that film; it's about now too. At the same time, and I love that. But the best part of that is Pedro Pascal's kind of like projection of what mad genius is like in the modern age. I think that is dead on. It is spot on. And so, not only is that movie just immaculate in every single thing that it does, like his projection, like Pedro Pascal, like shows a side of him in acting in that film that doesn't exist in any other film he's done. And it's just dead on. Like that. If I went to Elon Musk's house, I actually think that's pretty much what it would be like. It would be like that. So.
All right, that's a good movie. Both of them are good choices. My number 3 is Minority Report.
Great.
Hell
movie.
yes.
I love this movie, man. It's just wild. Hopefully precogs never exist and they don't start doing this because this is wildly inappropriate. But who knows? These dystopian movies that we've been talking about this whole episode seem to have been shaping how life is working. But we're on to number 2. That was our 3s. Now it's on to good old number 2. What you got for me, Paul?
I went with AI by Steven Spielberg.
Originally Steven Kubrick, by the way.
I'm trying to decide whether this is your worst answer or Chris.
You don't like AI?
No. You know what it was? I think this is the snob in me.
Okay. Right.
I like this movie, by the way, but my wife.
It is a good movie.
I was a horrible human for submitting her to it.
I read the script.
Oh.
The Kubrick version. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the snob in me is like, because it wasn't Kubrick and it was his vision. Mm-hmm. And I love Spielberg, but like we were talking about earlier with Spielberg's misses, I think when Spielberg tries to take on somebody else's voice, he misses. And this is one where he tried to bite off more than he could chew.
Good pick, Paul. Good pick.
But I think
I slammed that so hard. I slammed that so
can see
hard.
The future going as far as robots and AI.
I forgot why I was saying that. I just got on Kubrick and Spielberg. No, I would never say that because I hate you.
Right.
You know.
That's cool.
No, I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to drag the movie. So I think the snob in me. So it's me.
Right.
It is a good movie. There's a lot of value to it, but I think it's just because with the script and everything else, I'm like, yeah, I wish this was more. Kubrick had done this.
My only knock is that it's too sad. It is
sad, but that's the thing. Every Kubrick movie is fucking sad. Every Kubrick movie is sad, but you still walk out of it and you're like, I'm cool though.
Yeah.
So I think watching this, but Spielberg, when he does sad, Jesus, you need like a wet blanket just to get shocked out of whatever you just dealt with. So when it came to AI, I think it was because it was so Steven Spielberg. It was just so sad.
I love how that's a verb.
I was torn between AI and iRobot because I was trying to go with one with just the robots, and
I was torn about both of those films. I
thought about those.
Yeah,
AI is a good choice. It's a very good choice for this. I'm not. Again, it's a snob in me. That's it. It's not to take anything away from the movie. iRobot.
I'll need to look up that script because I didn't realize it was supposed to be a Kubrick, or it was Kubrick's to begin with. So
he developed it for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He wanted that to be like his last movie.
Yeah.
And then they killed him. No, they killed him. Don't you fucking lie.
You keep that bro Rogan shit over on your end.
You said we'd have a conspiracy episode last year. We didn't have it. They fucking killed him, Mick. I'm just going to go ahead and start saying my conspiracies now.
In 1999?
Yeah. What else came out that year, Mick?
Eyes Wide Shut. I don't know what that means. Oh, shit. You might be right. Oh my God. I just thought about the content of that movie. I wasn't.
That movie was actually all about Diddy parties. That's the actual.
Yeah, but who goes to Diddy parties?
But still.
It's the same thing they did to Heath Ledger.
Oh my God.
I just wanted to see Paul's reaction. I wanted to see where he was going to go with it. So let's get to your number 2, Dan, before we go too wild down the rabbit hole.
My number 2, and this is, I think, will surprise you a little bit, Mick, is I combined them together. It's Blade Runner in 2049. I just drew it as one because it's a projection of the future, right? Like Blade Runner itself was supremely prescient in terms of oligarchical control of the world, and that's what we are living in, is oligarchical control. And that movie was made in 1981. The novel that it's based on, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, is phenomenal, by the way, with Philip K. Dick. And then its sequel, 2049, and I've struggled with this. I don't know which film is better. I don't, and I won't take a side. I've struggled with it because they're both phenomenal, but 2049 took over where, Ridley Scott left off and kind of like said, okay, here's what's projecting even further. And I agree with a lot of the projections in terms of it. Like, as we develop artificial intelligence and as we develop, we have the Tesla robot, we have all these things, people just don't talk about it, right? Like, as we keep developing this stuff, we're going to have more and more conversations about what it means to be human, what it means to have validation. You're going to see the left continue to drive towards this idea where artificial intelligence is going to become an extension of what they do in terms of LGBTQ+. It's going to be incorporated in terms of it. And that's the conclusion, people. That's if you're doing the calculus, you're going to talk about non-carbon based citizenship, stuff like that. And
so Data from Star Trek?
Yeah. It's Star Trek did it too. And prior to Data didn't long prior to Data, right? Like that's it's brilliant because, like, as we blend things and as we develop artificial intelligence, deep fakes, whatever you want to call it, in terms of this, the question of what is reality is going to be even more difficult. And 2049 posits that, in a way that's not just thought-provoking. Leaving that theater, I went home knowing full well that would be a top film for me for a long time. I saw that in the theater 6 times and then bought the 4K release when it came out, and I've seen it countless times since. I have 3 posters down here in the basement of it. Like, I think that 2049 and Blade Runner are the 2 best posits, aside from my number 1, about what the future is.
Okay, I have a conspiracy theory. All right.
Uh-oh.
After the aliens left when they helped build the pyramids, they didn't come back again until Roswell, right? Just check in. And they crashed. And when they crashed here, they didn't have the necessary components to get back. They didn't have a flux capacitor.
Physics built the pyramid.
Sure.
Physics.
Sure. I will make you. I have a great conspiracy theory here. So they worked with, the U.S. government, and they worked that worked in the biggest movie studio in the world of Area 51, with all of these amazing people coming in and teaching about technology and all this stuff. So
Are you just talking about the movie Paul?
No, shut up and listen. So why, right, would movies make us feel something for inanimate objects like Toy Story or things like that? Like
to get us ready for AI.
To get us ready for AI. Boom. That's what it was all about. And it's here. And can the aliens come back and just like get rid of the oligarchy though?
Just send it. Can we just send the meteor out?
Like Christ, if it felt like the 90s, I would fucking love any president that was in there right now. I'd be like, let's just make it like the 90s. That would be amazing. I don't care what your name is. That would just be fun. But
Mick's number 2.
Mick's number 2. This is your fault. You talked to him on this podcast. RoboCop is my number 2.
Great choice.
I fucking love that. It's my top 10 movies of all time.
Privatization of police. Yeah.
We see it with everything, and now we're picking it apart even more because like privatization of prisons, police, everything else,
schools
taking over, and it ain't the libs, it's the rich. And here we go with our number ones. What's your number 1?
This is one I'm looking forward to, and I hope that actually happens soon. And I went with Ready Player One. I fucking hope that.
I love it, right?
I don't.
Yes, Paul, you're my man. I love it. I did not
hard.
include it. I did not include it. I love the novel and the film for different reasons, both because they're very different. I want that because I think it's a solution. So
I do not.
I'm with you, buddy.
I don't think that's a solution at all. What's your number 1? You think just being on screens is a solution to life?
No,
I think that it levels the playing field. I think that anything where you strip, so people can be whatever they want, right? And like when you start stripping this idea, my problem for all of existence is this. It's a very poorly balanced video game where you are born into a random generator under a random person and you get no choice. And some people already start at level 40 and you start at level 0. Like, meanwhile, when you are in the simulation like that, when you're in that simulation, be any, and you can represent yourself.
I'm not saying that you can't have something like that, but like, all right, let's just get through because like my number 1 is going to be more in line with like what
my number 1 is scary. So I don't like that's.
Ooh, let's hear
it. What's your number 1?
My number 1 is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I love.
What's not scary?
So this is my postulation in terms of it, like because people will say it's outdated, right? Because it's based upon the Cold War, all this stuff. I'm not paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to what Kubrick attempted to show, and it's this.
The illusion of free choice.
Yeah, not just that. Not just the illusion of free choice. The idea of weaponization of knowledge. And you have this parallel that takes place early in the film where an ape throws a bone up in the air, and it spins, and it turns immediately into a space station. Not a lot of people know this, but that space station is a nuclear space station. If you read the book, Arthur C. Clarke is the foundation of that. He wrote the book. That's a nuclear space station, right? And that's where we're heading, is this idea of, essentially, and we do it from Earth already. So, I mean, like, that's already happening. But, like, privatization of the moon, we have right now, they are going to be sending, they want to build a train on the moon. Yep. You don't have healthcare, but train on the moon. Anyway,
who the fuck is gonna go?
That's it. Like, this is the
how?
You're not going to save money. You just said who would go. I would go.
All right.
So
how you gonna go?
You have in 2001, and it's Kubrick's masterpiece. It's one of his many, but it's his pinnacle, right? You have this postularization of the future where everything has become weaponized, and that's the future.
All right, I'm giving my number 1 now because I'm tired.
I'm sorry.
No, you're great. I'm not doing deep conversations because like I think like with my last one, I went with just based on the movie, but of course I love the world. I think it's the best built world in movies, TV, and science fiction in general. And that is, I went with Wrath of Khan, but Star Trek, of course.
Awesome.
I was waiting.
I wish that was the conclusion. I wish that was.
I'd prefer that world.
Yeah.
Like I prefer that utopia on Earth, us traveling, us being explorers, not trying to fight or capitalize on each other. Money doesn't mean anything because we're out there just trying to do shit. I do believe that is a true, honest thing with humans. We have that capability. We just don't have that capability. We don't have that world to do that or establish that. Now,
Genesis.
the reason I don't, no, not Genesis. Another invention that I think is better choice, and I didn't want to say until now, Ready Player One, and just having the screens and being stuck in the games, is the holodeck, because you are now physically active in any of them. You're still in this world, but it is you're still physically active. You can have all these different types of, they did not shy away from, having sex in this thing. They didn't shy away from playing games or just going on vacation, but like there was no,
it's too expensive. Ready Player One is cheap. Everybody has access.
And you have an Omni track you're walking on the whole time and you can jump on. So they are active.
Well, that's our top 5. If you're watching this as a clip on February 1st at 3 p.m., we are doing Casters for a Cause. We're raising funds for the Red Cross towards the efforts of the LA wildfires. It is insane out there, and we just wish them all the best. We want to try and help. We have a great lineup of shows, and they're going to be there, and they're going to hanging out, all of us, for 10 hours, just trying to entertain. Please come. The GoFundMe is open. It's down in the link below. You can go check it out. But and donate, share out, the whole 9. But we really appreciate it, and we're trying to get this going. So we'd appreciate if you guys would help us for sure. But look at that! It's a mixed movie pick from 1941. And the nice part about this is it's Friday, so it's out already, and you can go check it out on our YouTube channel. And I picked Suspicion. A wonderful movie from 1941, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Cary Grant, Joan Fontaine, who won the Academy Award for this. There's a lot more in the classic film review, some information and stuff. Not a lot more. There's some good information there. You can go check it out there. But yeah, please let us know what you think. I would love to hear it. But yeah, Suspicion is out now. You can check that out on our channel. As you know, it's Film Noir month. So next week, we're going to have another Film Noir. But we're also covering all of the James Bond films. And this week we have Diamonds Are Forever and Live and Let Die. 2 good ones that I think you should check out if you're a fan of James Bond. I also just did movie reviews live. I want to say thank you to my co-hosts on here. Shake had to jump off real quick. But Paul, thank you so much. I busted your balls a lot tonight, but I appreciate you being a good sport about it. Jake, I appreciate every TED Talk that you give us. And no, Shake, I love his speeches, and I love how much information he brings to the show. So thank you so much. A great addition. Next Tuesday, we will be back with Sir Sturdy in Fold. So make sure you join in. And again, like I said, just a quick reminder, we are going to be on February 1st, starting at 3 p.m. It's a Saturday. Casters for a Cause. So make sure you join in for that. We'd really love to have you be a part of it. But thank you guys so much again. There he is. Shake the man is back. I was picking on you while you were gone, but
okay. I did. The dog was barking.
Do you guys have anything you want to say before we get going? Shake, I'll start with you. What you got?
I'm excited to be part of the fundraiser. I got 2 different sections I really want to do. I'm actually going to make 2 cocktails. Something I haven't done in 2 years. Right.
Nice.
I'm super excited for that. And then on the other side, I'm going to do a stream for Chrono Trigger or Friday the 13th. I haven't decided yet. One of the 2 for Arcade After Dark. And I think I finally figured out the audio issue that I had. So I'm really excited. I want to raise money. And you guys know I'll do anything for charity. And if any person donates $100,
they are awesome. And we truly appreciate them. I mean, I can't get over that. That would be just so wonderful.
I will do something specific, and
yeah,
a lot of people are excited about it. I'll mention it more. But the big thing is this: if any one person does it, it'll be a pretty big.
I don't want this. Paul, what do you got for me before we go?
You guys keep listening, keep watching, keep loving the magic movies. Try to stay positive. Even this week I got tested by a lot of different humans just trying to shit on me in different ways. And you just can't judge everyone based off that. And you got to kind of try to stay level-headed, which sucks. But stay strong and just try to show someone love, because you never know if someone's having a bad week or a bad day. So, try to be sympathetic to everyone around you, and hopefully it comes back.
Yep. I 1000% agree. Be kind to everybody. Be good to yourselves, because that's important. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, remember to like, subscribe, comment, the whole 9. And we will talk to you soon. Take care.
Sorry, dudes. I had to pee